So I've got a Priority 600X. This is the 2023 model. I recently changed my handlebars so that I was riding in a little more erect position. So everything's up higher, and I needed to get longer shifter cable so that if the handlebars rotated 90 degrees, I wasn't putting any stress on the cables. So this is what you'll need to order. And that comes with one housing that's long enough that I cut it in half. It takes two housings obviously to go up to the shifter. So cleaning all the grease off everything is the first biggest step you're gonna do, and I feel like the second biggest step is when you're running your housing, and just getting your lengths exact and leaving enough excess down there on the inner thing. I think that's the biggest part of the project. Putting the cables and running that through, that's pretty straightforward. So just a couple comments. If you're going to do this on yours, one thing I noticed is that the way these were done routed in the manufacturer is the lower shift cable was, it comes in there, but they had routed it through this tube, and I felt like the bend seemed just a little sharp. And this is 4mm housing, and I was able to get two to just come through there, and it has a softer entry into those two ports. So what I recommend doing once you got your housing through there, I did have to massage this to get it out, but it wasn't like a crazy effort at all to get the second one to come through here. But what you want to do is this can be mounted in multiple positions, 1, 2, 3, and what I did was I found that the original position works good for this. You can see how that's a smoother, it's less extreme bend than coming out of here and then going up in through there. I just made sure I had plenty of length on my cables, and had them nice and tidy so they're kind of running together. Okay, I've just got tape over this. This is a typical, and let's see, it's just like a typical one of these, but I drilled it out. So I drilled out, which drills out very easily, drilled out a larger size hole, so that this inner would fit in it. So you'll have to do that. And then the way I got this to work is I just put a knife around here till I could tell I was meeting the metal, to get the outer sheath off. So strip that. So then I would just work with a knife to strip this black outer sheath off, and then you're left with this metal, all these metal strands. This is Park Tools wire cut cable cutters, and yeah, they cut nicely. They're pricey, but I just like to have tools that feel great when I use them, and basically it's always good to have tools that give you a morale boost. So I would just get around a few cables at a time, a few of those steel lines at a time, run this down as low as I can, and then clip them off. And so that might take you six goes to end up with this result. And then you can just slide this on, and then you will have to kind of like push those. You'll have to push these things in just to get them to, and then this will slide over. So I couldn't show you how I ran these cables around. If you look at the Pinion video, they show you how to wrap it, but you got to pay attention to the details. But the cable that's in this orientation, the cable that is lower at the base of this, if you look in the Pinion video, that's the one that does the extra loop around. Now, one thing that's not clearly pointed out is like there's a little arrow on this piece, and then on this outer piece here, and those have to be lined up. And you can kind of see, and then I also have the holes, the mounting holes lined up. So everything should be good to go here. Now, when I uninstalled this originally, I found that these 3 bolts, all of them were significantly loose. So I put a little bit of blue Loctite thread locker on there. One thing I did, on the housing, I put a tape on the lower cable, and also at the upper end too, so I can keep track of which is which. Because this one will go into the one there with the tape on it. So this housing end cap, if that's what they're called, this was originally on the housing that from the manufacturer. So I'm using that, and I'm assuming maybe because this is plastic, that's why they're also choosing plastic here, so that any vibration and so forth, it's not a metal one wouldn't be damaging this, I guess. So I'm reusing the same. So this is now run, and like it'll help. It's helpful to like slide these housing into here just to give you more room when you're threading the cable into the housing. But then as you pull it back out, you can seat it in there, and it can be helpful to come up here and kind of move that housing from up there to help you get these to seat in. So this inner is easier to thread through here if you have some cable through it. This inner liner can run through this here, but like I got this one to run through easily. I was just doing a test fit, that's why it's not going through. But this one wasn't going through so well, so the same drill that I used to open up this end cap, I used just to clean that up a little bit to make it go through easier. You'll find that it's easier to thread this through having these housings in a bit, so you have plenty of cable to work with, and you can feed this by hand and fiddle with it. But that took me a little bit of effort to get that to thread through properly. So I got the lower one all up in here and got it tightened. By the way, it's the tool that they provide. They provide a little tool like this that lives in there, and then you can put it into here. But man, it's got a really bad feel. As far as you don't get a feel at all, because this is so soft. So one unfortunate thing about this tool is that it won't fit into a standard tool set. So it's you're kind of stuck to using that, or I'm gripping it with those. Anyways, I got that tightened down, and then the next thing they tell you to do is shift it all the way into the highest gear. And I was able to shift like 1 or 2 gears, so there was some kind of problem, so I had to loosen it up and take this back off, undo everything, take it back off. And I don't know if like maybe when I was sitting in there the cable didn't seat correctly or something, but I ran it again. And then before I tighten it down this time, I got a hold of the end of the cable here, wrapped around my hand, held the grip in place, and then pulled on the cable. And then you could hear it shift really quickly through all the gears. And then you can take this 3mm socket and then turn that to the right, and that'll shift it all the way back into the first gear again. And so now I will tighten this back down. I will position this right there, and then pull on this cable and tighten those back down. And so these cutters, because they're so thick, they don't allow you to get very close to where you want to cut. So I had quite a bit of excess cable there, and so basically if it's sticking up, it's just going to be digging into this housing, and this is just plastic, so it'll just end up eating it away. So I don't have any other cutters with me, but I did have these needle nose pliers, and I was able to bend those over to where it's that should be tame enough that shouldn't destroy the housing. You know, in Pinion's instructions, they have you pull this out, but I think maybe there's a chance that I over torqued the those little nuts that clamp onto the cable, and that might have dug in to the plastic here underneath it, to where when I tried to pull this out, I couldn't do it. So it kind of left me having to clip it where it did. Even though, yeah. So we'll see how it goes on this one. Okay, so there's the first gear. You can see how I got those wires bent over. And then that's how I ended up doing the wires on the highest gear. I put the cover on, and and I tried it once and it locked up, and I had to make sure I had those wires really well bent over properly, but it works. Now I just have to put this cover back on and then get some fresh grease on there. I just ordered some stuff. I'm hoping this will work. I don't see anything about resin being in it or adhesive. They say they don't. So anyways, yeah, Pinion says don't use a grease that's got resin or adhesive in it. I've never heard of an adhesive in a grease, but I don't know anything about grease. So after the project was done, I found this extra cable clamp on the ground. I'm like, uh-oh, was I supposed to do something with this? Well, it turns out I emailed Pinion and they said it's a spare, so I didn't see it drop out. But so obviously the shifter requires 2 cable clamps, and the spare, I'm assuming, lives right underneath here. But now that I got the cable's already tensioned and cut, I can't release it, and there's no way I can get this back in there. So hope I don't ever need the spare.